like, what did the European club landscape look like over there? Well, the answer is not great. So there were no professional clubs over in Europe for women at this time. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And this is Raising the Game, a women's sports podcast covering primetime performers, the business behind the leagues, and what the growth of women's sports means for the next generation of women's athletes.
All right, we're back.
We are back.
We're back, and I feel like we say this every week, but we have a lot to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about, and honestly, one of my favorite things, I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but we get to talk about soccer almost this entire episode.
Whole time. Yeah.
So my favorite sport to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think recently in the past, 10 years has become one of my favorites as well. So I'm excited.
I converted you.
I am a convert.
I will take credit for that.
Let's do it. I think first we got some announcements here.
Yeah. So couple cool things. First of all, yay us.
Yeah,
this is our
number
10th
10
episode.
We did it.
Way to go, babe. Awesome.
I was just telling Caitlin, if we make it to 11, we have apparently made more episodes than 80% of podcasts. So
hey,
look at that.
Look at that. Just one episode at a time, churning them out. So to celebrate, we actually are going to be bringing something cool and new to our audience. And that is a website, official website where as of right now, it'll have a little bit more about each of us and our bios, as well as written like summary,
like episode recaps.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for.
So if you're more into text, it's going to be a little bit easier to
so you can do a little bit of a review, or if you want to go back and check something, but maybe don't have the space or time to re-listen, you can go check that out. And then that's going to be a platform where on an ongoing basis, as we kind of continue to grow this thing out, we might have blog posts. One day, I hope we have merch. Just kidding. But that'll be really cool. So we'll be launching that this week. Watch our socials for when it goes
probably
live.
Around the time this goes, because we'll have to.
And then the other cool thing. Hold on.
And I want to say it's rtgpod.com is going to be the website address.
Okay.
You'll need that.
Just to be clear. rtgpod.com. Similar to our Instagram handle, just no underscore.
No underscore.
Yep. So one other announcement we alluded to this a little bit last week as we kicked off Women's History Month, Women's Empowerment Month, whatever it is that you choose to celebrate, you just celebrate, or you're celebrating women. We are going to do our first kind of evergreen content episode that we'll release at the end of the month. And it is going to be all about a few, because there were many. Women's sports pioneers. So looking back over the history of women's sports and who were some of those women that played a really key role in getting us to where we are today and all the things that we get to talk about here on the podcast. So,
and if I remember from the outline, it's kind of just through time, some quick hits on all these people. And then I think eventually we'll kind of dig into more of those folks as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking forward to that. Would love feedback when we get that episode out. And then also, if there are coaches, players, leagues that you would want to hear more of like a evergreen type of deep dive on, not something that's topical in the here and now in women's sports news, let us know.
Let us know. All right. Should we jump into top headlines?
Well, we have to do our favorite thing, honey.
Oh, why do we always forget that? One of us always does.
I don't know.
Oh, let's see. Man, I got to think about this.
I'm ready.
I'm ready
to go. I have like 3. So one of my favorite things has been that every morning it feels like our kids wake up and they ask if the Parallel Olympics are on. And we've corrected them Paralympics, but what I love is that they're so like interested in the variety of sport that they saw in the Olympics in February, that they're really engaged in wanting to watch the Paralympics. On the downside of that, it's been harder to watch those. Like, I don't think they're broadcasting on like just regular TV the same way. It's probably all over Peacock. But it's been cool that kind of stuck with them. My other favorite thing, I already said the soccer thing about this episode, but I right now am absolutely obsessed with Taylor Heisey on the Minnesota Frost, and she had an incredible game for the Frost on Sunday. 1 goal, 2 assists, game tying goal, game assist on the game winning goal in overtime. It was a huge win for the Frost. They needed the points
really bad.
And I'm just loving how she's playing. I think she really like came into her own at the Olympics, and I'm excited to see how she kind of steps into the void created by Kendall Coyne Schofield's injury. So I just had to say, shout out to Taylor Heisey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, same vein. I think my favorite thing was that overtime period of that game. It was so tense, and just to watch it go in, and it was an exciting moment. And I think the girls were there watching, and
they were.
It was a fun time. So
for sure, shout out to Kelly Panic too for scoring the actual game-winning goal.
And absolutely laying somebody out at the goalie a little bit before that. I think that was great.
She does it all, folks.
Yeah, she does.
All right.
Now
we can get to the top headlines.
StubHub launched her Sports Hub, a specific platform dedicated to ticket sales for women's sports across the various leagues.
This is That's cool.
Awesome.
So we just had the headline a couple weeks ago about how ESPN was pivoting their Sunday night broadcast from baseball to women's sports game of the week. StubHub, now we shared some data last week from StubHub about the Olympics kind of surge in women's ice hockey. And they did a deeper analysis that was released last week and launched as they were launching this platform. But what they found was that on average, there has been a 215% increase in ticket purchases. So not just searches, purchases across all women's sports after an Olympics competition, summer or winter. So the other thing that's really interesting from their data is that women's sports fans, and this will come as no surprise to women's sports fans, but women's sports fans tend to be more broadly engaged across all sports. So men's sports fans tend to be more siloed. Like if you're really into baseball, you kind of like stay within baseball. As an example, you may be fans of multiple teams in multiple leagues, but you typically aren't seeing attention attracted across sports. And so I thought that was really cool. Speaks to the inclusivity, speaks to kind of, I think, people wanting to just support women, regardless of what they're playing. And I think we feel that all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
So
Unrivaled second season wraps as Mist BC outlasts Phantom BC in the final. Features all-star performances from Mist captain Breanna Stewart, which gave her the championship MVP, and a record-setting points for Phantom captain Kelsey Plum.
Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about the game. I could talk a lot about the game. But I think what was really cool was I think the playoffs in general were insane for Unrivaled. They were super fun. They had record attendance at the semifinals in New York, which were happening last week when we were taping our episode 9. I do want to call attention, though, to a couple data points coming out of Unrivaled now that the season has wrapped. So first of all, really cool. The winning team, so the Miss BC takes home a $600K purse to be split amongst the players. There's 6 players on a team. They each get $100K for winning the championship. In addition to be clear, in addition to the salaries they're paid by Unrivaled. It's a bonus, right? But this second season, y'all, set records. So road games, which they had, 4 total games, but they went on the road twice. They averaged 20,000 fans at those games. Obviously bigger venues than what they play in Miami when they're there at Sephora Arena, but still really monumental. 100% increase in merchandise sales for a total of $4 million in merch sales. We were proud purchasers of merch from the Unrivaled League. $5 million in ticket sales and $45 million as of kind of middle of the week in total revenue.
Yep.
This is up 66%, year over year. And then the league valuation at this point is $340 million.
That's crazy.
We're 2 years in.
Which is 7.5 on earnings.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fantastic.
We're 2 years in.
Yeah.
And so there was an interview there with the Unrivaled commissioner, Mickey Lawler, and she said, quote, and I gotta admit, this sounds a little like some shade being thrown at WNBA league leadership, but she says, quote, "It's a byproduct of putting the players and the fans first."
Yep.
And it's sort of proving out now.
Yeah.
We're realists here. We're like, we'll see how this pans out over.
I don't want to rain on any parades.
He's going to rain on my parade.
The thing they got to do is figure out the TV thing, because TV viewership was down, unfortunately.
That is true. And I know I tried to push a couple of friends and family to it, and they're like, I don't get TNT or True TV. Like so yes, if they could sign some kind of broadcast deal with
even like Fox Sports, CBS Sports, something, whatever.
ESPN.
Yeah.
They'd be calling ESPN.
Yeah.
But agree.
All right. We do not have a good update yet.
Speaking of basketball,
for the WNBA CBA. We had some news last night that a new offer was sent over, but we have not heard anything as of Monday night.
Well, they've really just, this last week has been busy. A lot of stuff in the news, a lot of swirl. Yeah. I saw some ladies on a podcast describe it as a lot of chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And when you have that many chefs in the kitchen, you ain't making a meal.
No.
So a lot of back and forth between the league and the union with offers, adjustments. None of that is actually being reported as to what those changes are at this point. I've read like a million AP articles by the same guy who writes about basketball and probably has for 20 years. So that deadline's tomorrow, folks.
Yeah. Hopefully we got something.
Maybe by the time you are hearing this,
we will have
there will be news.
Yes.
We shall see.
Team USA women's basketball team tips off this week in Puerto Rico for World Cup qualifying, led by Caitlin Clark, Unrivaled MVP Chelsea Gray, Angel Reese, and Paige Beckers. I
got to figure out where I can watch this.
Yeah.
This is going to be amazing.
I was on their site today and I didn't even check.
Yeah, we got to figure
that out.
We'll figure it out. We'll post it.
I might have grabbed it in what to watch. So
we may find out soon.
Yes. All right. NCAA women's basketball conference tournaments have buzzer beaters and blowouts. UCLA dominates Iowa for Big Ten title. Texas stomps South Carolina. UConn looks likely to breeze their way into the Big East tourney title. Duke survives Louisville in OT for ACC title. Big 12 title game sees West Virginia upset top-ranked TCU.
There was a lot going on this last weekend. Yeah. Where we'll leave you with this one for now. Selection Sunday is next Sunday, March 15th, with tournament play tipping off on Wednesday, March 18th. So we've promised we'll have some brackets.
We'll do a bracket. We'll get it out there.
Next week we'll post it and whatnot. Lots of kind of surprising outcomes.
South Carolina losing.
Just the blowout.
That was huge. Like, I think that was like 79. It was
17 points. UCLA won by a lot. And then UConn's playing right now.
Yeah.
But we expect them to win by at least 30.
Yep.
We'll see.
Boston Fleet retakes top spot over Montreal. Minnesota remains in striking distance with a cluster of 3 teams separated by 2 points total, currently vying for that coveted 4th playoff spot.
Yep.
We'll see how this shakes out. Boston Fleet and New York Sirens report sellouts for April games to be played at TD Garden and MSG, respectively.
This is huge.
Yeah, big time.
Playing at the big arenas. They're expecting high 17,000, 18,000 fans at both of those games. So looking for a U.S. attendance record.
Oh, wow.
Another one.
Another one. Ohio State took the stacked WCHA crown over the weekend, claimed top seed in NCAA Women's Ice Hockey Championships, which begin on Thursday, March 12th.
And I did see on the socials that Olympic gold medalist Layla Edwards of the Wisconsin Badgers was hanging out at the very own
look at
bar
that.
of their own here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Look at
that. That was pretty cool.
In the 2026 Milano Cortina Paralympics competition, Oksana Masters wins her 20th medal in the sitting biathlon, while U.S. teammate Kendall Gresh takes silver.
Yeah, to be clear, her 20th total just medal in general, not her 20th in the sitting biathlon.
Is she the greatest Olympian there is?
She might be. She competes in both summer and winter games.
That's wild.
She does cycling and rowing in the summer, and she's won 20 medals.
Confederation of African Football announces postponement of Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The World Cup qualifying stage for 16 African nations will now run late July to early August.
Yeah, this is I think a bummer. I think the delay here, or the postponement, they were made aware of it 2 weeks before they were supposed to start. And what's impactful about this is that tournament was going to be wrapped basically right at the beginning of the NWSL season for those players who play in the NWSL. Yep. And now it's going to disrupt the middle of that season. I don't know if maybe they tried to line it up with the Men's World Cup when they have the break in NWSL, but
did they give a reason? Infrastructure? No. Nothing? Okay.
No, but one could surmise that given like current world events, that there may be some safety concerns. Yeah. But it was in the article, it was very specific that there was no reason directly given.
All right. Sunshine Double in Indian Wells, California features all WTA top 10 players, including Americans Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, and Amanda Anisimova.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gauff retired early in a marquee matchup, pitting her against a rival of hers, citing an injury. I didn't really read into like what exactly it was. Madison Keys is playing right now as we're taping, and then I saw that Pegula and Anisimova both advanced to the round of 16. You still have Rybakina, Swiatek, Naomi Osaka, and Ariana Sabalenka. Osaka and Sabalenka actually play each other in the round of 16, which will be interesting. Are all still competing. So that'll go into this coming weekend where we'll be able to watch the championships there at Indian Wells.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Heading into SheBelieves Cup Roundup.
Let's talk about it. Yes. So we wrapped up SheBelieves Cup. For those who are just listening, I am wearing my U.S. Women's National Team hat today.
I had to explain the stars on it to the eldest tonight, what that means. Yes.
So if you ever see people wearing U.S. National Team hats with the crest, if they have 4 stars across the top, that is a women's team.
Women's team.
If it has no stars across the top, that is the men's team hat. And do you know what the stars are for?
World Cup wins?
World Cup championships.
Yep.
Just to be clear. Okay, so back to my favorite team in the world. So SheBelieves Cup round robin tournament. It's a friendly tournament. It doesn't really mean that much, but there is a trophy on the line, so that's always fun.
Yeah.
Team USA took care of business, right? Mm-hmm. They beat Argentina last weekend 2-0. We talked about that a little bit on last week's episode. They beat Canada in the midweek 1-0, and they beat Colombia over the weekend 1-0. This very much mimics like the round robin format of a qualifying tournament or the World Cup or the Olympics. There were some things that we really liked.
Yep.
And there were some things that we were missing as we were watching. But what is cool, this is their 7th straight shutout. So they have not allowed a goal since last fall against Portugal, and it's good to see kind of that resolve, I think, as well. And so we'll get into that a little bit here.
Yeah, it kind of feels like to me that they're, besides the low scoring, that they're getting a little bit more back to what we would expect them to be.
Yes. And I think I've read a lot of like kind of pundits and analysts commenting on the performance now, right? Because we've talked about this on the pod before, but last year was really like Emma Hayes, like in the lab,
in
right?
the lab.
She's testing players. And I saw a quote from her recently that she was saying, like, when you think back to the 2024 Olympic gold medal team, you think of like the resilience of that team, and you think, what do you think of? What was the big tagline from the 2024 Olympics?
I don't know.
3 players.
Oh yeah, triple
espresso, right? Everyone was talking about Trinity Rodman, Sophia Wilson, and Mal Swanson. and Hayes is astute. She's like, that now we're talking about everybody else. Because obviously Wilson and Swanson have been out being pregnant, having babies. And then Trin had kind of a challenging year last year, just in and out with injury and whatnot, but she's still, one of the greatest in the world right now. So it's cool to see now we're taking the lab results, so to speak, right? The testing, the experimentation, and we're starting to like put it out into the field and really see what those combinations are going to look like. So what I did like, just to start off our section on what I liked, I like winning.
Yeah. Winning is the most important.
Winning is the most important thing. This was their 8th SheBelieves Cup title. There have been 11 total tournaments. Shout out to Emily Sonnet, who has played in all 11 and is an 8-time SheBelieves Cup champion. But they are coming off a loss in this tournament. So last year they lost to Japan. It was Japan's first SheBelieves Cup championship. And then last year they dropped a couple other games. I know most notably was a game against Brazil. And that was actually in pretty quick succession. It was like they lost to Japan and then they lost to Brazil. And everybody was like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's kind of funny because this team is one of those teams where when they lose one game, you're like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Right. Like they're not almost like they're not allowed to lose. And that's because of the dynasty that they have created and the kind of the standard that they've set globally for women's football. So anyways, I thought it was good to see them be really resilient in this tournament. I think, my next point here was the shutouts are nice. I mentioned those already, but the composure you're playing. So typically our Latin American teams tend to be a little bit more physical, a little bit more chippy. So both Argentina and Colombia both kind of had that.
If you go back in time to social media from last week, you'll see a lot of videos about how it's gotten chippy over the years.
Yeah. And so for them to not rise to the bait, right? Play their game, maintain their shape, maintain their tactics as best they could, despite the disruption, despite kind of the physical play. That and Hayes pointed this out too in some post-game press conferences, like that is growth that she's been looking to see. So couple other things that I'll just call out that I liked, and then I'd love to hear from you. I said Naomi Girma and Emily Fox. I haven't seen either one of them play for a while because they play overseas in the WSL, and it's harder to watch that here. We don't get as many of the games. And they've also been out with various injury or club duty or things like that in the last couple international windows. I almost like forgot how good both of them are.
Yeah, if you put a game where she isn't in, Girma specifically, and then you watch a game where you're in, you kind of walk by and go, "Oh, she's in. Great. It's already like you don't even know it's her. You're just like, I can tell how they're playing that it's her."
Yeah, she just brings a poise. She is a player that like if she's in, I feel like the only way that you're going to be able to score on us is like a super broken scramble type thing in the off of a corner or something, right? Like run of play. She's too smart. She's too good. So anyways, Naomi Girma, Emily Fox, 2 other players I really liked how they showed up were Ali Sentnor and Alyssa Thompson. So when we were teeing this up a couple weeks ago, I had 2 major questions, right? One was left back. I still think that's an open question.
I think you're going to run right into my question, so this is great.
And 2 is who's the 9, right? Who is our striker up top? And do you need to ask your question
my question is literally is as someone who I like soccer, I watch soccer, I don't know like the lingo, the tactics, all that stuff. I was going to say, are these 2 contenders for that number 9 position, or is that like Sophia Wilson's for sure? Are they the backup 9s? What's going on here?
Good question. Okay, so I think it's Soph's to lose, probably. Okay. Kat Macario also kind of plays a 9, but she's
hurt, right?
Yes, she's got a heel injury. She's kind of in like a weird spot with Chelsea and things like that. They're different 9s. So there's
okay.
different styles of play you can have in a 9. You can have a false 9. You can have a true 9. There's different ways that they're going to play where they're more of like a back to the goal, turn and hit.
Yep.
Back to the goal, hold up, play and play off. There's like running and staying high, stretching the field. So the interesting thing about that question is that they are all different styles of 9. Alyssa Thompson is not a 9. She's a wing. So she will not be playing at the top in that point position, but she was very good on the wing, very active. I was so happy to see her get the goal against Colombia. I thought she played really well when she came, in the game against Canada, and then also in the game against Colombia. But Allie Sentnor, she's not big.
Yep.
She's not tall, so she's not like you think back over the years like an Abby Wambach or an Alex Morgan, right? Which those two even are two different 9s, right? But she was doing a lot of the right, I don't want to say all the right things, but a lot of the right things that Hayes would want to see from somebody in that position. And what I loved about her performance is she looks hungry.
Yeah.
Right.
She wants it.
She wants it. So Emma Sears, I think, could also kind of play that role. She's somebody that Hayes is really high on right now. But I think Allie Sentnor is the player to watch as Wilson and Macario get back into the side. Okay. What I didn't like. I didn't love that Trinity didn't seem able to find the game. And it's hard to say if maybe that was because of injuries suffered in the first game against Argentina. She got knocked pretty hard and then was back in training, but you just like don't know.
That was my whole question here. Was she fully fit? What,
Yeah. And so I do wonder, I also just kind of wonder like that disruptive play, some of the tactics that they had against Canada and Colombia may not have gotten her the ball necessarily.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she was bad. It's just that I didn't see her take up space the same way that she can. I know she can.
Do you think maybe almost like a decoy too sometimes?
Oh yeah. She draws so much attention. 100%. Excuse me. What I didn't like, inexperienced back lines. So in that first game against Argentina, we talked about this, but you've got 4 players who have not played together.
Yeah.
I cannot handle it. I hope that we never do that again.
The goalie in her is like going crazy.
The goalie and me. And then when we played without a 6, so we've talked about a 9, right? Is like a striker up top.
Yep.
The 6 is that holding central midfielder. They are like the traffic director and the connector.
Is that like the Lindsay Heaps type?
No.
Different. Okay.
That is Sam Coffey. And Sam Coffey is probably one of the best at the 6 position, like true 6. It's Julie Ertz used to play the 6.
Yep.
And so when we played without somebody in that position, it didn't look great.
Yeah.
It didn't look controlled. Now, Heaps can play in that space. She's not naturally inclined to stay in that space. She tends to attack more.
Yeah.
And so the 6 is like a defensive central midfielder, if you want to compare. So when we played without, that did not go well for us. And then not a lot of goals, right? You want to see, and I think I saw a little bit of, again, Hayes's post-tournament press conference where she's like, we just like now, we showed a lot of composure, a lot of growth. We won, took care of business. We've got to continue to work on the connections, right? So
at least they held it together defensively.
Yes, which is very important. Yeah. Yes. If they don't score, they can't win. So what's next? U.S. Women's National Team has a trifecta of friendlies against Japan starting April 11th. So that is like coming up here.
Months from now.
One of 6 remaining international windows ahead of naming the World Cup roster, y'all. So ahead of naming that roster, which will happen in June of next year, 2027, they only have 6 international windows. I know.
Okay.
Right? So you think they have a lot of time. They do not have a lot of time. So what I anticipate is we're going to continue to see that roster refinement.
Yep.
I have a feeling that Emma has like probably of a 23 woman roster, she probably has 20 of them solidly picked, barring any kind of injury, right? There's maybe some questions in 3 spots right now. So, predictions.
We doing a podcast prediction here?
Well, I just thought I'd throw it. I thought I was beat you to the punch instead of asking me that I'd note it down. I think when we get to Japan in April, I think we're going to see Soph Wilson back in the side. She played in a preseason. Cleared, I think. She played in a preseason match over the weekend. And I think we'll talk about it and what to watch. But the Thorns kick off the season against the Spirit this Friday. Maybe Kat Macario. I don't foot stuff's always weird. So you just don't know where that's at. I think we missed out on seeing defenders Jordan Bugg and Kate Weisner. Both of them had to leave camp they were called in and then had to leave camp for illness or injury. And then Lily Real, she got hurt really badly, like bad ankle injury in the first game against Argentina. So I'm going to be curious if we see her come back. She might be that left back answer. I thought that Avery Patterson was okay out there. Giselle Thompson, I actually really like Giselle Thompson. But we didn't get to see enough of Real. It'll be interesting too, because it'll be early days of NWSL, and then the WSL and the European leagues are going to be kind of ramping up to playoffs. So just the fitness and things like that.
The difference there is going to be interesting.
Are a challenge for sure. So definitely looking forward to that. Thought it was good. Definitely excited for
that. Those Japan games are going to be real fun.
Also, I love watching Japan play. They're so technical and so disciplined. It's like some people think it's boring, but I'm like,
that defense holds up.
Mastery. I mean, yes. Because they'll just wear you down. Wear you down. All right.
You want to jump into this deep pool we have here?
Deep pool. Okay. So we are going to take y'all through understanding of the NWSL. So the NWSL kicks off its 14th season on Friday
night.
This is the longest standing women's professional soccer league in U.S. history, as you're about to learn. And so the way that this is going to go over the next couple minutes here is we're going to do a little bit of history lesson behind how did we get to the NWSL? And then what was really formative in its history to get us to where we are today. We'll talk a little bit through the financial picture, the growth, attendance, viewership, things like that. We'll note some players to watch, people you need to keep an eye on. And then we'll have some predictions on who we think might win this season.
Okay.
You ready?
I don't know if I'm ready for predictions.
Well,
I haven't seen a game played yet.
I know, but you just got to predict.
All right.
You just got to pick. I don't know. If it was our girls, they'd pick by the logo.
Oh, yeah. We should actually do that on a social. We'll just have them pick the logos.
They'll do a bracket. We'll have them do a college basketball bracket too, based on the logos, perfect. Jersey color.
All right, let's dig in.
All right. So digging into the National Women's Soccer League, or the NWSL. So let's talk a little bit to set the stage about women's professional soccer in the U.S. before the league that we currently have. So women's soccer culture, really, just like most women's sports, how we know them today, was really born out of the passing of Title IX, right? In 72, we actually are going to talk about Patty Mink in our Sports Pioneers episode, who spearheaded that legislation. But what that enabled was the college level, right? Because that's what Title IX was. You had to have equal opportunity for men and women at the college level. Really took off, and it really started to build. And if you think about the timing of that, it makes sense that the U.S. women's national team really started to see success in the 90s, right? So essentially, the women,
about the 18 years right there.
The women who were like little kids at the time that was passed, then were playing professionally or at the college level by the time that the Women's World Cup started up in the 90s. So the U.S. women's national team became this global force. They won the first or inaugural Women's World Cup in 1991. And then they famously won again in 1999 in front of 90,000 plus fans, which is like, I feel like we should have a like an inflation rate percentage for like how many fans that would mean in terms of today, because that is an insane amount of people at a women's sporting event.
Yeah. When I saw that number, I was blown away because I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah.
And you talk about like the defining moment of Title IX being about 18 years earlier. That's almost like another defining moment where all these young girls got to see this team win it. And then I mean, as you probably know,
I am who I am.
Yes.
Because of that. It was interesting. They honored Tobin Heath at the women's national team game over the weekend. And she actually said she had a signed ball from Brandy Chastain that just said "believe" or something on it. And that like was the thing that made her motivated. You also hear Emma talk about how she has never coached a team of people who are more invested in the crest. Like she's like, these girls, it seems like they were born wanting to play for this team. And that's the legacy of the 99ers and Title IX, frankly. So as we move ahead, that really, the 99 World Cup win really ignited this appetite for professional women's soccer. And so in 2001, the Women's United Soccer Association was founded. This was the first fully professional women's soccer league in the world. Launched with 8 teams, with 20 national team players as part of that league, including stars like Mia Hamm, Brandy Chastain, Christine Lilly, etc. Average attendance around this time reached about 6,000 to 8,000, which
that's not bad.
That's not bad, right? And it didn't last.
Yeah.
So they ceased operations in September of 2003 after just 3 seasons, citing unsustainable operating losses of what was estimated to be around $100 million. $100
million in 2001
dollars. Yeah, in 2001 dollars.
Wild to me.
Yes, I know. That's a lot. And I think the main reasons that were cited for this was they launched too fast with outsized budgets and just like it wasn't well thought out. And so we go back to the drawing board. So after WUSA.
And that's the name.
Yes.
It was a little, not quite there.
After the Women's United Soccer Association, or WUSA, folded, there was this period called the gap years, right? And the W League, which is a semi-pro league where a lot of women played, they also maybe went overseas to play.
Okay.
And this was from 2004 to 2008. And it got me wondering, like, you have semi-pro options here domestically. Like, what did the European club landscape look like over there? Well, the answer is not great. So there were no professional clubs over in Europe for women at this time.
Not even like what you see now with like the kind of sister clubs to all.
Nope. It was all amateur. It was all like maybe you got some money to cover rent and food, but you were not getting paid a salary. There were other barriers like language barriers, visa situations were really difficult, and you didn't have like the organization helping you with that. You just were showing up because you loved playing soccer. Right. And so the fun fact is that as an example, the French Women's Professional League that we know of today really only legitimized in 2009.
Wow.
And believe it or not, folks, the WSL, the Women's Super League in England, that only legitimized to a fully formed professional league in guess what year?
2018.
2018.
Oh, I got it.
So that's 8 years ago, right? So
I thought they had been around as long as a lot of the men's.
And you would think because soccer is such like a deep tradition.
Well, like
over
West
there.
Ham has like their whole like their academy or whatever.
I know.
So
it's a whole other episode. Yeah. And what's also interesting is that this actually points to this really interesting pivot we've been experiencing on the international stage with the national teams that now we're seeing more parity at the national team level because there are clubs that are funded in these other countries so that their professional women can play year round. Right. And they don't have to go live overseas necessarily. So it was a really interesting full circle moment in my research to kind of like learn a little bit more about that. So going back, that was the gap years, 2004, 2008. We're now at 2009, and the Women's Professional Soccer League, I don't know what they called it themselves, but WPS was founded. It was launched, like I said, in 2009, 8 founding clubs again, and it featured, again, international superstars like Marta from Brazil, arguably the best to ever play the game, Abby Wambach, Hope Solo. But it really struggled with franchise instability. So multiple clubs folded within the first 2 seasons, and the WPS suspended operations in January of 2012, officially disbanding in the spring.
All right.
And the key lesson from WPS was the MLS affiliation. So going to your comment about in the English leagues, did we need affiliation between women's clubs and men's clubs at the professional level? And federation subsidies. So we're about to talk about federation subsidies, but they were seen as critical missing components.
It does feel wild to watch 2 leagues kind of fold and go, I can do it again, but better.
But you know what they say?
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm, baby. So in 2012, the NWSL was founded, but we got to back up a little bit. It was founded in 2012, but we're going to back up to U.S. Soccer Federation President Sunil Gulati, He decided to spearhead a new model, right? So we just talked about federation subsidies, and his critical differentiator was that the U.S. Soccer Federation, Canadian Soccer Federation, and initially the Mexican Football Federation agreed to subsidize the salaries of their national team players. And that the costs of those then did not count against salary caps. So what you were able to do was keep top-tier talent in the league while also not penalizing or making teams use that funding for those star players. You could build more competitive rosters, right? So then the NWSL officially founded, again, 8 charter clubs. 8 seems to be the magic number for us to be starting with. And the inaugural season began. So in these early years, 2013 to 2015, we saw obviously a lot of firsts. The first NWSL match was played on April 13th of 2013. 2013 season average attendance was 4,200 people, so less than the WUSA.
Are you saving other numbers for later in this, or do we know what the current?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to compare right now or compare later?
We're gonna do a little quiz.
Okay.
So listen.
Yeah, listen.
Keep listening.
Okay, we'll bring it back.
It's a fair question. And the Portland Thorns, who are still a part of the league now, won the inaugural NWSL championship. They also, in these early days, signed a cute little first broadcast deal. And that broadcast deal was a 1-year agreement with Fox Sports to televise 6 games.
6 whole games.
The semifinal and the championship. So I suppose maybe it was 9 whole games. And we also started to see expansion in this time. So Houston, they had a men's side, and MLS, the Dynamo. They added the Dash on the women's side. So this was the first time that we were able to move past 8 teams in this period. So now we move into 2016 to 2020. So in this era, this was really a couple milestones, league maturation that we were seeing. The NWSL became the first women's professional soccer league in U.S. history to surpass 4 seasons in 2016, right? Because all the other ones folded after 3. They signed a 3-year broadcast deal in 2017 with A&E Networks, otherwise known as Lifetime. Lifetime Movies. And they aired 22 regular season games on a weekly basis, not 22 games weekly.
That's a lot even for now.
And then you had the first major relocation. So
Okay.
a team that was called the Western New York Flash relocated and rebranded to the North Carolina Courage,
Oh, okay.
which is
Okay.
part of the current slate of teams
Yep.
today. During this time period as well, right before this period started, and then in this period, you had back-to-back World Cup wins.
Yep.
Remember, there are 4 stars on the hat.
Yep.
We've talked about 2 of them. 2015 and 2019, U.S. Women's National Team won back-to-back World Championships. Yep. And so that both of those really spurred interest, attendance, etc.
I think that's
NWSL.
That's right where my interest kind of started. I know we had started watching more soccer around that time, but we were together in 2015, but not close enough that we were watching soccer together yet. So,
I hadn't converted him yet.
So 2019 was really, I think, that first time where we really watched the Women's World Cup.
Yes, and that was epic. That was in France, I believe. And it was just like, you had Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan and like all the things going on. So then that brings us to the end of this era, 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic really forced innovation out of a lot of these leagues. A lot of bubbles popped up for teams to continue to compete, but stay kind of quarantined. Yep. And so this was where the Challenge Cup was born, which is now still played in the NWSL. But that was sort of their solve for the COVID situation in 2020. And then we get to some not so good times. 2021 and 2022 were really considered these like reckoning years for women's professional soccer. So, as is unfortunately typical with women in general, there was a huge exposure around basically systemic abuse of players. So The Athletic published an investigation exposing systemic abuse and misconduct by coaches across the league in October of 2021. And in 2022, the Yates Report, put together by Sally Yates, former U.S. Attorney General, documented a, quote, systemic failure, end quote, to protect players from verbal and sexual abuse across multiple clubs and coaching staffs. Multiple coaches, executives, the commissioner of the league, all were fired or resigned. What's really harrowing about this is that in the Yates Report, it details players reporting on these behaviors as far back as 2015.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. And what the Yates Report really came out and showed was not only were these players being abused, but there was active cover-ups happening by teams, by the league itself. One of the most disgusting things that I saw was the fact that teams were quietly ushering these coaches onto their next job and writing positive letters of recommendation so they would go get picked up because they needed to get them out of their organization. And so horrible experience. There are a lot of really brave women who were willing to come forward and put their name on the record, most notably Sinead Farrelly, and a few others. So just kudos to them because otherwise they might still be dealing with that. As with most kind of challenges, right? There's usually there's something positive that's born out of that negativity. And as a result, the league really overhauled its leadership in 2022. So they hired Jessica Berman as the new commissioner. And believe it or not, 9 years after the league began, the players secured the first ever collective bargaining agreement. So part of the other reason why a lot of that systemic abuse was allowed to go on was that there was nothing protecting the players. So note to self.
Yeah. And I did not even know how to phrase this, but it's like you said, at least there was this that came out of it. Like that should have never happened. But they did get the protections. But honestly, they should have had them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, be a human, people, but they should have had this a long time ago.
Yeah. It's unfortunately not a surprising oversight.
Yeah.
That no one decided to like look out for these players. So at the same time, and we don't talk much about it in this particular episode, but there was also this huge push for equal pay in the U.S. Soccer Federation. So this was really led strongly by Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan. We'll talk about Pino in the soccer pioneer, or the sports pioneers episode. But back to the history here. So this really launched the league into the hyper growth era that we're accustomed to today. So like you said, never should have happened, but they were really able to make like champagne out of frankly shit.
Yeah.
And we get to benefit from that as fans. So in 2022, you had the addition of Angel City FC and the San Diego Wave. Angel City is continually the highest valued team in the league. The San Diego Wave made a charge for the Shield in their inaugural season. This was when we really got into them. They had Alex Morgan kind of as their figurehead. In 2023, the league signed a landmark $240 million broadcast deal, a 4-year broadcast deal, with CBS Sports, ESPN, ABC, Amazon Prime Video, and Scripps Sports. So in 2024, we added 2 more teams, Bay FC and the Utah Royals. This was also the first season that we surpassed 2 million total match attendees, so across all competitions. And then a couple other milestones. One of the coolest ones for me, the Kansas City Current opened the first ever in the world, basically sports complex, but stadium, training facilities, etc., designed specifically for women. Yeah. And I want to get into this really quick because I read an article and I thought it was really fascinating. It's not just that it was designed for a women's sports team. It was literally designed with women in mind. So when you go into a typical sports arena, everything from the layout to sight lines are designed off the average size of a man. Okay. And what they did was they went and they looked at things like sight lines and all the other amenities you might need, like family rooms, nursing spaces, breastfeeding spaces, things like that. And they included those. And they did it all from the perspective of a woman. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Right. So pretty cool. I really want to road trip down to a game down
it's
there.
A beautiful stadium too. Like
right on the river.
So nice.
And that team is amazing. Yeah. And we're going to talk about them in just a second. So now here we are in 2026. The league has expanded to 16 teams. We add 2 more this year with Boston Legacy and the Denver Summit. And then an Atlanta expansion team is expected in 2028. Yep. And I have heard rumblings that Columbus is also trying to make a bid.
Columbus,
you're shaking your head.
No, Columbus feels like a foregone conclusion. Like the women's national team plays there. It's
almost every time
filled to the brim. Like
they have an MLS team.
It feels like they play there like every other time they play. They might there or Harrison, New Jersey. Like that's like where they go.
I thought maybe you were just shaking your head because you really want one here.
Yeah, in Minnesota. Well, eventually,
obviously. All right, so that is a little bit about the league history. I think we're going to move into the structure and financial situation. So as we just mentioned, 16 teams as of 2026. It's a single division format for the league. So 30-game regular season, 8-team playoff bracket culminating in the NWSL championship. This year that'll be played on November 21st. And we also have all of those broadcast partners, which actually have expanded. So we mentioned before CBS Sports, ESPN, ABC, Amazon Prime Video. This year they added ION, and there's free streaming on Victory Plus, which is a newer sports streaming.
I actually noticed when I was looking at the schedule today that they had ION and Victory Plus, and Victory Plus is where LOVB plays as well, and they think a few other things that I've seen.
Yeah. So there's no shortage of ways to watch. And then as we mentioned earlier in the show, ESPN will be featuring like a game of the week on Sunday nights, bouncing back and forth, between the NWSL and the WNBA. So when we think about financial picture, currently, just for some base understanding, the salary cap in the NWSL is $3.3 million. That will rise to a little over $5 million by 2030, which is when their current CBA is set to expire. And then minimum player salaries are right around $50K in the current season, and that is set to rise to about $82,000 by 2030.
I thought what was really interesting when I looked it up is I think the MLS is salary cap is currently $5 million, so they're not
that far
off. I mean, obviously there's still a gap, but they're kind of closing that gap already.
Yeah. A couple other just like interesting tidbits. We've talked here on the pod about the high impact player rule, which allows you to sign a player that meets certain criteria, that you get an additional $1 million kind of outside of your salary cap. So that's going to hopefully draw some talent or allow us to retain talent like we did with Trinity Rodman. We talked about the broadcast deal already, and there was just some information released last week around the average NWSL franchise value. And I think overall that average came out to be about $184 million per club, which is up 77% year over year. Notable of those franchises, we mentioned Angel City FC already. They are valued at $335 million.
Holy smokes.
Kansas City current $315 million, and Bay FC at $208 million. The total league is valued at about $2.5 billion.
Is that the team's valuations added together, or is there some other valuation formula there? Because I was just wondering, because a $60 million per year broadcast deal to get $2.6 billion valuation is massive. Like, that's a huge multiple in earnings.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly how the valuations work, but it'd be like the team valuation. It might be the some of that is also considered revenue sometimes, right?
Okay.
So there's probably some externals to the teams there. But if you were to do some quick math here, you've got 16 teams averaging 184 million. And then the other thing that's interesting to note, and always kind of an indicator of that value, is expansion fees. So if we go back to 2021, when San Diego, they made the bid to add the team in San Diego for the 2022 season, it cost them $2 million to join the league. Then you had, Denver, who's going to start this year. It cost $110 million. Just I can't do math. 4 years later, to join the league. And then we've talked about the Atlanta team, right, who just signed that big sponsorship deal with Aflac, $165 million for them to get in.
82x increase in 4-ish years.
Yeah, not too shabby. All right. We told you to hold on to your thinking caps around league attendance. So maybe you remember what that average attendance was in 2013. Anybody? 4,200 fans per game. Approximately 375,000 total fans across that entire season. Fast forward to 2025, the average exceeded 10,000 fans per match. And for the third consecutive season, which is the longest streak in league history. And as we mentioned, in 2024, we had a ton of historic milestones, 2 million fans, average attendance of 11,250, 165% growth in average attendance since 2013. We also saw in 2025 the single game attendance record between Bay FC and the Washington Spirit of just over 40,000 fans. Now we are all anxiously awaiting the game in Denver game on March, I think it's the 23rd or 28th. But they are already slated to blast that number out of the water.
I think they
over
were
45,000.
I think they were opening up like the 500 level in Mile High or whatever it's called. Like, it's going to be insane.
So that's really cool to see, just like this explosion in interest and growth and accessibility, I think, to these women. And then I found this fun fact, but 48 of the 50 most attended professional women's soccer matches our NWSL games. And I was like, I saw that and I was like, well, that's not that interesting because like they've been around way longer than the other leagues were, right? And so I did a little bit of a comparison, and it is by far and away, soccer stadiums typically hold more people than other sports, right? So soccer rules the roost in the States when it comes to women's sports attendance by almost double.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily how we should be comparing across, because it really should be about maybe the growth or the average attendance relative to capacity.
Yeah.
Because basketball, as an example, plays in a much smaller venue on a regular basis. Yeah. So I do believe that women's World Cup win in 1999 still is tops of the table.
Yeah, that's wild.
There might have been like a college volleyball game or something.
Yeah, there was. I'm remembering that.
Like outstripped that. I think 91,000 or something. Yeah. So go Huskers volleyball, I guess. All right. So we are going to shift gears here and move into some players to watch. All right,
let's do it.
So as a primer for your NWSL viewing season, we wanted to give you a couple players for you to keep tabs on throughout the NWSL season, as well as some teams. We'll get to the predictions here in a minute. So we have our established stars like Trinity Rodman. We've talked about her plenty on the pod. We've talked about Temwa Shawinga. So she plays for the Kansas City Current. She's a Golden Boot winner, I think the last 2 seasons in a row. She is incredible. A super fast, really strong forward up top. And she is going to be really interesting as I look at the offseason additions to the Kansas City Current. So they actually added Allie Sentnor.
Oh, okay.
And Croy Bethune.
Okay.
Who leaves the Washington Spirit to go play with KC Current. So I am going to be very interested to see how Temwa does with some of the playmaking that Bethune brings to the field, and then also having a real scoring threat maybe opposite her in Sentnor.
So let's talk. Can quick tell people what the Golden Boot is, because I'm wondering, she's back to back. She's with Kansas City. Is she one of the best players? Is she the best player in the world, or is Rodman's?
No, I think, I mean, it depends on how you define best, right? So Golden Boot is the top scorer in the league.
Yep.
So Temwa has won that the last 2 years. Yep. She was also league MVP the last 2 years. She is she's definitely probably considered the best forward in the league. I think Rodman gets the accolade a little bit more liberally, probably because of her marketability.
Yeah.
Temwa is from Malawi.
Yeah.
And so she's not on that US national team, right? Like you just get different coverage, different marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Playing for an African nation versus the highly cash infused probably US or the national US Soccer Federation. So we would love to see that differently, which is why we are talking about Temwa here on the podcast.
Exactly.
All right, another name that you'll recognize, Rose Lavelle, always somebody to watch.
Yep.
The former Wisconsin Badger.
Yep.
Go Badgers. And she really is in form right now. So she was the championship MVP last year. I think she's been scoring a lot of goals. She creates out of that midfield. She seems to really be kind of stepping into her prime, so to speak, from a consistency perspective, leadership, all of that kind of stuff. Marta, also arguably one of the best players in the world, right? Playing for Orlando Pride. She retired from international play recently, but she's the 6-time FIFA World Player of the Year. She's always got something up her sleeve in her bag.
The question I had, and I teased this at dinner tonight, for the male listeners, is Marta for women's soccer potentially what like a Messi is for men's soccer when it comes to career arc and like global cultural impact?
No.
No.
Unfortunately, because you just don't get the same level of exposure and coverage, right? Like from a player, if you just were to look at the play on the field perspective, which maybe that's what you're getting at with your question. Yeah, I think you could make that argument. Different styles of play a little bit between the two of them, but from a, you know, leadership on the field, amazing achievements, consistently recognized as the best in the world over a very long career. Also, both the longevity on both of them is insane. But unfortunately, right, again, I think potentially if Marta had been an American, that might have been different. And I don't say that to throw shade at any other federation, but as we've discussed already, the U.S. Soccer Federation and frankly the women's national team has had outsized success relative to other national counterparts. And so Marta is Brazilian. I mean, we could go into the history of that, but like they probably weren't getting the funding and the backing from their federation until very recently. Right. And so the difference in the trajectories between a Messi and a Marta is that Marta probably had to fight for every ounce of access and exposure that she could get to the game. And she has inspired a generation of young girls, right, to play football, and it really has moved the needle forward for Brazilian Soccer Federation, probably other Latin American countries, South American countries, but to compare them is really tough, and it's not for lack of talent. It's for lack of support,
access and support.
Really good question. And then just rounding up our crew here, Gift Monday. That is a name.
Amazing name.
To be clear. She plays for the Washington Spirit. We got to see her a little bit in action in the playoffs last year. She's a very dynamic player. She's from Nigeria, but she scored the fastest hat trick in NWSL history in 2025. She scored 3 goals in under 36 minutes.
I thought you were going to say 36 seconds and I was going to lose my mind.
Not in soccer. That's like not possible. But 3 goals, that's 3 goals in one half from one player, less than a half, right? And so I think she is going to be somebody to certainly keep on your list of folks to watch. When we look on the other side to rising stars, we've talked a little bit about my first one on the list here, Croy Bethune. She just left the Washington Spirit to join the Kansas City Current. I think her in combination with Temwa and Ali Sentnor, Michelle Cooper over there, et cetera, is going to be really interesting to watch. So we'll want to keep an eye on her. Claire Hutton. Also a national team player. She moved from Kansas City Current to Bay FC. She, part of that move is, I think she was like the second highest transfer.
I remember that.
Ever. Croy was third, right, to move in, but over $1 million to move out there to Bay FC. And then earlier this year, she became the youngest to ever wear the captain's armband for U.S. Women's National Team. Emma Hayes calls her a future captain in the making. Maybe she needs to revise that to current captain in the making. And then we've talked about her kind of ad nauseum, but Ali Sentnor, just been like really impressed with how she's come on. I remember last year's SheBelieves Cup was her national team debut, and she scored a goal. And I remember being like, whoa, who is this girl? Right. And she's continued to be productive. I think she's really kind of had a little bit of a breakthrough here in this year's SheBelieves. So it's going to be interesting to see how she does in the club side.
I think this past week was the first time I really paid attention. Obviously, she just made her debut last year, but I liked what I saw out of like everything I saw of her. Like, she's definitely the future.
And then we are going to just wrap up here with our NWSL title contenders. Ooh. And they are all teams that I have mentioned, folks. Because if it isn't obvious, they kind of have some of the best players we definitely should be watching. So Gotham FC, they won last year. They were 8th seed going into the playoffs last year, but I think that depth that they have really held them together. They had some key off-season signings, brought in Savannah McCaskill from San Diego. I think when they need to win, they know how to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so I could definitely see them making another run at the league championship. Kansas City Current, they won the Shield in like resounding fashion last season, which is the regular season championship, best record in the season. They won with 65 points and a plus 36 goal difference last year. So, and they've just added firepower. They haven't really lost anybody. They also are bringing in a new coach. So Vlatko Andonovski is moving to a sporting director role. They brought in Chris Armas, who's a U.S. men's national team former player, he is a Hall of Famer for the men's national team. So I'll be watching that to see how they do, how he sticks. Can they kind of lean into his philosophy, his system? And is he willing to kind of shape a little bit around the talent that he has?
And the thing here for the people at home is they lost in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
To the Gotham team, right?
Yes. They lost to Gotham.
So the highest seed lost against the lowest seed.
Yes.
Which
it was widely seen as a fluke.
Yes.
It's an upset. Maybe it's
gonna haunt some people there for a little while. But that's
why we play the game.
Yes, exactly.
This is what we taught our daughter last week.
Exactly.
And then finally, the Washington Spirit, right? You re-signed Trinity Rodman. You've got, a lot of other folks supporting over there. Gift Monday, we just talked about Lacey Santos, Kate Weisner, Tara Rudd, Aubrey Kingsbury in net, like just some experience in that back line. So I think their ceiling is highest, right?
Yeah.
But there's also going to be pressure now, right? They keep talking about, Michelle Kang's investment there and things like that. And it's kind of like, what can money buy you?
Yeah. I was just thinking back-to-back runner-up too, like have they gotten the missing piece? Have they put the missing piece there to make this a true championship team? Agree.
So those are the three that are probably going to be analyst favorites, most likely to win. I've got a couple dark horses.
Okay.
And then we will move on to what to watch.
All right.
So my dark horses, Portland Thorns. Soph's back, y'all.
Yeah.
Soph's back.
Yeah, don't count her out.
And they got a new coach. So last year they were working with like a couple interim. They had a firing in the middle of the season. And then like I think they had 2 different interim head coaches. So like, that's just hard to play in, right? So new head coach, Soph's back. Let's see what they do. Racing Louisville FC, 2025, led by 2025 Coach of the Year, Bev Yanez. You've got Emma Sears on that team, Sav DeMello. They had a really strong playoff run last year. I could see them building on that, especially behind the leadership of Yanez. Okay, hear me out on this one. I think they finished like way bottom of the table last year. But the Chicago Red Stars, okay, they're making investment over there. We've highlighted this on the pod. They're building out a training facility for those women. You've got Alyssa Nair, veteran leadership in goal. Never, ever discount the value of veteran leadership in goal. You've got a huge, they traded Brazilian midfielder Ludmila over to San Diego Wave, which actually brings a huge transfer fee to the club. So they could go out shopping, right? And then you've got Mal Swanson coming back. You've got Jamise Joseph, who's starting to break onto the scene. So you might have some scoring options there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's possible. And then the Denver Summit, I had to put them in here. This is maybe it's my favorite new team for sure already. And I haven't even seen them play.
I was just going to say, based off, if I was going to take one from each of these categories, Denver is my dark horse favorite on vibes alone.
On vibes. They are on vibes. They are on vibes.
I think Washington Spirit, just because they've been knocking on the door.
They also have really cool jerseys this year. Cherry Blossom jerseys.
Absolutely.
Their third kit. That's awesome. All right. Woo!
All right.
We hope you learned something about the NWSL. If you want to hear more, go deeper on any topic, let us know.
Absolutely.
That up. But we will be watching a lot of soccer these next couple months.
I think we're going to change now to what to watch and actually stick right back into soccer.
Don't leave. Never
don't leave
leave.
yet.
Season kicks off.
All right, so starting off Friday night, 7 p.m. Central on Prime Video, we have Washington Spirit and Portland Thorns FC season opening game.
That's a big one.
And we have games the rest of the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Which one are you thinking about?
Well, besides the one you just highlighted, because Soph's back.
Yep.
If I haven't mentioned that. I really am excited to see her back on the field. But I have circled down here, right? The Bay FC Denver Summit.
Yep. We got to watch it.
You just said like Denver Summit on vibes alone. We got to see if the vibes in the marketing campaign
yes, exactly.
success on the field.
Exactly.
So I'll be looking out for that one. We'll probably have this on all weekend.
Yeah. Moving on to PWHL, just 2 quick games here. Seattle Torrent at Minnesota Frost, Friday, March 17th at 7 p.m.
They're back in mini.
They're in third. They're looking to kind of move themselves up and stay in the playoffs. Boston Fleet at Montreal Victoire, Sunday, March 15th at noon Central. I think we outlined this game earlier in the podcast. So it's a huge game in the PWHL. We also outlined this earlier, Selection Sunday for NCAA basketball, 7 p.m. on Sunday.
Yes.
And we will see the full 68 team bracket, and we will start working on some sort of bracket.
We'll have it ready by episode Monday next week.
NCAA hockey, I didn't want to go deep into any of the games here. It is regional semifinals and championships this week.
Yeah.
Next week is the semifinals and then the championship. So we'll go more in depth next week. And then FIBA World Cup qualifying. We have 3 games this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So Tuesday at 4 p.m., Wednesday at 7 p.m., and Saturday at 4 p.m. And all of these are on TNT, TBS, True TV. It seems like if you want to watch women's basketball, you need to get one of those 3 stations, guys. And then, Paralympic Games, like we said, all over Peacock. They end on Sunday, though. So I think the hockey medal game is like on Sunday, kind of like with the regular Olympics.
Okay.
And then just there's medal matches all week.
I was looking at the schedule earlier today, and it's like any Olympics. Like any time you turn it on, you could be watching a medal round.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We made it through.
No shortage of things to watch this weekend, as usual.
Losers and winners. Quickly.
Woof. Losers. Let's see.
I have a loser.
Okay, what's your loser?
It's not a big loser. A championship Unrivaled basketball game should not be able to end on a free throw.
Oh, that's
figure that rule out and you're good.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That was really
not a fun way to end it.
Not great. My loser is I hate it. It feels like a cop out at this point, but we didn't go into detail. The WNBA CBA stuff was so, we frankly didn't go into detail because it was so weird, the reporting that was coming out about it. And my loser is that we're at this point where there seems to be a little like she said, like they're either manufacturing drama and trying to like sell that, which could very well be the case, or there is actually drama and there's a rift between the players. And like now I'm kind of like, what are we doing?
Every week we're coming up with new conspiracies for the WNBA. Now you just said that they've had this locked in for months. And they're just manufacturing drama to get more viewers.
No. Like that's not quite what I meant. But at the same time, I wish they could just figure it out. I think the players have felt that way too, right?
You feel like Caitlin Clark said today. She was like, they just need to get in a room, handshake it out, and let's go.
Right. Figure it out. So that might be my loser.
Winners?
The U.S. Women's National Team.
They won.
They won.
Did win.
They literally won.
Yeah, I mean, I think soccer fans
everywhere should be excited. Trying to think if I have any others. I think what's cool is that we had this great momentum from going back to basketball, from the Unrivaled perspective. You only had to wait a week to turn around and watch these women play again. So That'll be nice. Maybe it will tide us over.
Has Paige Becker's been home?
No.
Where is she?
She's living in Miami for the last couple of months.
Now she's in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, she ain't coming.
Yeah, she's lost.
So,
yeah. All right. I think that's it for today.
That is it. That's all we have.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I hope you didn't want more because
we got to go to bed.
We got to go to bed. All right. Hit us up on socials, RTG_pod, raisingthegamepod@gmail.com, and now rtgpod.com.
We'll be back next week. Hope to see you there.
All right. Bye.
Bye.